I had these dummies like this, but they were made out of 2x4s and 2x6s, and they were bolted onto a railroad tie. You know, this one here is great. I mean, this one here I've never seen before, but it'll work too. Any kind of dummy like this will work. The dummy I built years ago, I built 3 of them when I was a kid when I first started healing. First one's about 12 inches wide. Second one's about 24. The third one was 36. And the third one was tough. But it's like roping a live steer. There's like you rope like a muley, how their legs are really wide. You have to really open your loop up. So I have, as a healer, I have 2 swings. And this is a miscommunication on healers. I get a lot of healers trying to swing the rope over here like this. Okay? You ever watch the national finals, you watch any of the rodeos, you'll never see the guy's hand go in front of his face. He'll never cross in front of his face. His hand will always stay up here. Okay, there's 2 ways to get power on your rope. There's either push your rope or there's pull your rope. Okay? I have 2 swings that I'm healing. I push my rope going down the arena, and then I pull my rope as soon as I turn the corner. So as I go down the arena, I watch the steer's right hip. I don't watch the head that go on. My job is to heal him. My job's not to head him. Okay? So I want to focus on when I back in the box, I don't look at the steer's head. I look at his hip. That's when I'm watching my position, and when I leave the box, that's what I'm looking at. Okay? So when I rope a dummy, I try to practice as realistic as I can. So I'm actually coming from, as you notice where I'm standing, I'm not standing right behind the dummy. I'm standing over here. Like I'm going down the arena with this steer. I'm getting ready to make the corner. So my spoke's going to be a little bit longer. When I'm heading, my spoke's about 24 inches. When I'm healing, my spoke's about 30 inches. And the reason for that, it gives you an open loop. It balances your loop a little bit more. Okay? My loop's going to be a little bit bigger. I use a 35-foot rope. I use between a medium soft and a medium lay heel rope. And there's several different kinds of rope. Right now I'm using an extra soft heel rope. I'm just making the loop a little bit bigger. Okay, and I think it's good to practice with a little bit softer rope sometimes, especially on the dummy. Makes you open your loop up better when you throw it. So once I swing it, I'll swing it, my hand stays over here to the right side of my head, but look where my tip is going, over my left shoulder. Okay, so as I'm going down the arena, I feed my rope so my hands are closer together, and I push my rope going down the arena. And as soon as I turn the corner, I turn here and I bring my swing right up over the hips. When I do, I pull my rope. You can hear the power right there. Every time, the reason I pull my rope, so the 5 things you're going to learn here: position, swing, target, timing, and delivery. Okay? So the position is when I'm roping the dummy, my right foot should be right directly behind the left hind leg of the steer. And my right foot should be back because I'm in the left lead again. Hopefully. I mean, sometimes Clay and I did that video I was telling you about, we did it on a head horse for 3 days, a video. And this horse was right leaded. And it was tough to make him get in the left lead. And I really focused on the left lead. Clay, he didn't care. He said, I don't care what league he's in, I'm going to rope it anyways. and that's kind of how he looks at it, you know. I'm really a stickler on having my horse in the correct lead when I'm roping. And I do it even when I'm doing it on the dummies, and I really do it a lot on the Helamak or the dummies when we pull them around. Make sure we break a horse out in the correct lead when you're roping. Okay? So once I get my position is directly behind, my right leg's right behind the left leg of the steer. The tip of my loop is right up over his hips, so his hips are right here. Heading, I can throw a pull away, or I can be 3 feet out here, I can be 6 feet out here. Healing, you can't. You have to be in position. It's so important. You can't reach for a steer. If you do reach for a steer, the chance of getting back to the valley is not very good. Okay, so once I get my position, I'm down the arena here, I push my rope going down the arena. As soon as I turn the corner, I pull my rope and bring it right up over his hips. I'm controlling the bottom strand of my loop. My target is the right hock. My hands are close together right here. Okay? They're way closer together than when I'm heading. That controls the top strand of my rope. To me, that is the perfect loop. That's what myself and Clay O'Brien and Rich Kelp call the square loop. It's got the steer covered on both sides. My bottom's coming back to me. So for 20 years, I taught schools, I taught this loop right here. I taught a trap. Come around here like this, throw a trap. And the reason I did that is because every video I have, my hand is like this. Okay? So I thought I have to throw my loop like that. I get to, Clay and I get to talking on the way from Houston to Tucson one night down the road, and we're sitting here, we're imaginary roping, we're going like this, you know, like this. We keep going like this. Pretty soon I'm going, my hand doesn't turn over. He goes, yeah, it does after you throw and you turn it over to get your slack. So that's where you turn it over. So, and I used to teach this roping the sawhorse on the ground, just trapping it. Well, I actually trap the steer. My rope has to, my bottom strand has to touch the ground. If it doesn't touch the ground, the steer's just going to kick it out. But my bottom strand comes back behind that steer's right leg right there. So I throw right here, my bottom strand comes behind that right leg. Right there. If I have a dummy lock, I'll dig a hole right here with my loop. My tip of my loop, that's where it hits. The angle in my swing is right up over his hips right here. The angle of your swing controls your bottom strand. So right here, if I splat my loop out like this, when I'm swinging it, my tip's too high, when I throw it, my bottom strand's going to kick out in front of me. The angle of your swing controls your bottom strand of your rope. Okay? Any questions so far?
So you want your hand to stay.
Here's the National Finals in 1985 when they first moved to Las Vegas, where we were 7. Their rope was here in that same spot in the arena, and they're 5. And the reason for that, 2 reasons. Headers are running wider, so they're roping farther away, and they're stepping off to the left before the steer. They get control of his head right when the rope gets tight. Before, when the headers roped behind them, they had to move over, then they had to pull the steer. Nowadays, the headers are wider. As soon as they rope a dolly, they got control of them. And now the heelers are doing what we call coming around behind them. So, and you go to the BFI. You watched the last round of the BFI this year at the one in Oklahoma City. Corey Koontz won it. He come right here behind the steer. He roped the steer on the second hop. He's a high call back. But that's where he's been throwing all day long. He's created a position for him and his horse. That's his sweet spot right there. So that's where he roped every single time. So that's what he did. So that's where the difference is now than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Is guys are coming more behind the steer. They're staying out a little bit wider, getting more pocket. As soon as that steer turns, they have it swing right over his hip, that first jump right here. They're ready to rope the first jump. Before, they used to come in here 8 feet to the right of the steer as you're going down the arena. And it's going to be hard in here because your arena is your boxes are so close to the right fence. To give yourself enough spacing, you'll get stuck behind it a lot. Okay? And that's the only, out of all this place that I've been to that Spencer built, that's the only thing I'm going to recommend him ever do. I told my wife I wasn't going to do it, but I just couldn't stand it. I have to tell you. He's done a great job and everything. His boxes are too close to the right fence. They need to be 40 feet. The center of your box, center of your chute needs to be 40 feet from the right fence. That's personal preference, but I've only seen 2 million arenas in my life. You know? So I'm saying I'm probably pretty good at what I'm doing. I'm just telling you that what happens here with you guys, this is going to be hard to stay wide enough because the steer's going to want to come to the fence and you're going to get stuck on the fence. But we'll work through that. When that happens, you'll just have to turn where the steer turns, but not when he turns. Okay? Because if you turn when he turns, you're going to be right in here beside him. You got to turn where he turns. So you have to go, once that steer starts to turn, you'll have to go another jump to get behind the steer and get position. Okay? I mean, you can turn in early, but you turn in early. The 2 things that kill you when you turn in early, then you have to pull back. So you pull in here to the side, then you have to pull back. The steer's getting away and your horse is going backwards. The chance of you getting to the dolly is not very good. Okay? So what we'll work on here, on this dummy here, we'll work on swinging her up, pushing it up in the air, keeping our hand out here to the right side of us, turning the corner, bringing our left foot forward, getting our swing overs back, make sure our hands are close together, come out of our swing right to our target. That's what we're trying to throw right there. So I never ever just completely let go of my rope. If you notice right there, I still have a little bit of a contact. There's times when I've roped live steers, and I still had my hand on the loop right there as I roped it. Okay? That's an exercise that we'll do too. What you're really trying to concentrate on here is your bottom strand of your rope. Because that's what I mainly focus on. I don't worry about the top strand of my rope. I mean, my target is the right hop, but I want to make sure I bring my bottom strand under that right leg right there. Every loop is almost thrown just like that. As I throw it here. As I let go of it, completely let go, I just roll my hand over, grab my slack. Okay? Any questions? Watch where my elbow goes. I drop it down every time. Same thing when I rope the head dummy. You don't see a baseball player lead with his hand, do you? He leads with his elbow, follow through with his forearm. Same thing when you're roping horns. You know, you see a lot of people, and you see anytime you go to a roping club or something, somebody will miss a steer, they'll come back, wait, did you see what I did? Oh yeah, you dropped your arm again. This drives me freaking nuts. Because they have no idea. They heard that saying from somebody, and then that's the saying they use every time. My brother, I got a brother, a year and a half older than me, never been on a horse. If he ever sees me miss a steer, oh, you dropped your arm again, Mike. I just want to kill him. He doesn't just torture me anymore, so that's what we're going to work on here. I like a delivery. Right when I start my delivery, I'm right here with my swing, okay, so my elbow is up. As I come down here, I start my delivery right here, and I bring my elbow down. As I start my delivery, then I follow through. So I actually set my throw. So people say, well, I stand up to rope. Well, I don't stand up to rope. I'll stand up as I'm going down the arena. I'm up here like this. I'm up. Okay, as I turn the corner, I'm up here. As I start my delivery, I set my throw. Okay, so that starts my horse into his stop right there. As I set my throw. So I don't want my horse to stop before I throw it. I want him to start rating right as I start my delivery. That helps me follow through. Now, if my horse would be like trying to rope this dummy, if my horse kept going when I'm roping the dummy, it'd be like, I'm trying to miss, but step in, you get too close, and that happens too. Your horse will step into your loop. You want to have your horse, right? That's why your swing's right over his hip. Right as I start my delivery, he'll just separate a little bit from the steer. Okay? Any more questions? My loop. I just bring it like this and catch it. Still my loop. But I tell people, especially beginners that just started, I'll tell this left hand, I should never use any of this rope right here. If I ride my horse in position, whether I'm heading or heeling, I should not have to use this. If I use this part of my rope, I didn't do something right. Whether I'm heading or heeling. I had a school last weekend with a young lady. Every time she'd rope, she would rope and she'd turn off and she'd have this much rope at the end of it right under her saddle horn. So what I did, I took her brand new rope, took my brand new knife, and I threw her clothes away, and I took tape and I taped it right here and I cut it off. This is what she used the whole weekend. Okay? And I told her yesterday, I said, now listen, if you lose that rope, it's going to be 100 push-ups. This girl is probably about 60 pounds overweight. And she's young, and I've known her whole life. Really nice girl. She goes, I couldn't do 60 push-ups in my whole life. I said, well, if you just think, if you lose that rope, you're going to have to sit here all day long and do push-ups. She never lost that rope, but at the end of the day, I gave her a brand new rope. You know, so I made it worthwhile for her. But I do that a lot. I cut off a lot of ropes. I tell a story about a guy years ago with their gig back there. I cut off his rope.
Brand new rope.
Yeah. I had a guy that met this guy's name is Rod Reedhead. He's about 60 years old. This has been 15 years ago in Arizona. Drew him at a drop pot. It's a 5-steer drop pot. And I drew him, the average pays $5,000 to go around and pay $50. We win the first go around. We're 5 on our first year. These are fresh steers. We're 5 on our first year. The second steer, he ropes him and he dallies right at the knot. And I missed the steer. He's riding down there, he goes, God dang, I thought you was a number 10 healer. I said, Dad, I didn't think you was stupid. So he bristled right up. What do you mean by that? I said, I don't have no idea who this guy is. Supposedly one of the best ropers in Arizona at the time. And he goes and tells me, you know, I said, I'll tell you what, listen, you come over, I do lessons over here at Dally Alley every day. It costs $100 for half a day. You come do a lesson. Do 2 lessons with me. If you don't think you get your money's worth, I'll give your money back. All right, so he comes the first day, and I find out what kind of rope he uses. So I go and get me a brand new rope like that. So he shows up with a brand new rope, And first thing I do is I get my tape out, I tape his rope, and I cut his rope off. I give him that rope. He goes, what do you mean? So that's what you're gonna use today. So the first year he ropes it and loses his whole rope. Second year, he ropes, loses his rope. Comes back, he says, I don't know what you're trying to get here. Let me get rid of this real quick. Sorry about that. Anyway, so after he said, so I can't do it. I said, well, you can't do it. I said, you just load you and your horse and get off our property. If you're not smart enough to use, this is all God gave you. If you can't use that rope, get off the property. So he bristled up. So he finally got where he could use that rope. So about the second day, he did really good at the rope. He was doing a great job, handling cattle good every time. So 2 weeks later, I'm at the rope, and I'm flagging the rope in Los Del Sol, biggest rope in Arizona. They call Rod Reedhead in the box. He rides the box with that rope. I'm thinking, oh no, he looked like a fool or a hero. He won $9,000 that weekend with that rope.
Oh man.
He had partners come up to me out in the arena that's been roping with him for 30 years and said they've never had good handles by this guy his whole life till now. And if you think about it, what happens is we miss our dallies as a header. So our job as a header is to make that healer's job easy. If we make that healer's job, it's not heading and heeling, it's team roping. Okay, and that's how we have to look at it. When I go to roping, if I'm heading, my job is not just to catch a steer, it's to catch a steer and give that guy back there the best handle I can to help him out. Whether he's this young man right here or he's that man right there, it doesn't matter. And I'll watch, if I'm at a drop out, I'll watch who I drop and I'll handle steer accordingly. I will make those guys catch. And I think it's so important. Instead of just, I have guys say, well, I went to roping last weekend, caught every steer, never broke a barrier, never would have died. There's something wrong with that picture. And sometimes you did just draw bad partners. But a lot of times it's your fault. You might have, I see a lot of guys that are heading, they'll turn the steer off, and they'll turn them. And I tell people, if you turn the steer at the 50-yard line, you should come back to the 40-yard line. About a 10% grade coming back every time. That's a huge part. Once you catch a steer, your job really starts right there. Once you catch it. Your job is to handle it where that healer's got a chance. If you give him a chance, you're probably going to be successful. And that's like, you look back on the careers of Speedy Williams and Rich and Jake and Clay and those guys that are winning, you know, like Clay Tryon, and those guys do such a great job with their partners, and that's why they're successful. Okay? So what we're going to work on now, we'll work on the dummies for those